Hello, this is the second lesson in coordinate geometry. Today we're looking at the equation of a line between 2 points. Sometimes we're given a gradient and a point to make that equation with. Sometimes we're given 2 points and asked to find the equation of the line between them. And sometimes we may have 1 point and the equation of a different line, perhaps it's parallel or perpendicular. Okay, so let's make a start first. Okay, this is some revision from last week. So have a go at these problems first and then check your answers with me. So for this problem here, the answer is, oops, it's moving, I don't want to do that. Let's do pen D equals the square root of 0 minus negative 1 squared plus 4 minus 5 squared equals the square root of 1 plus 1, which equals the square root of 2. Okay, this one here, the midpoint of these two lines, we have 6 plus negative 1 is 5 over 2, and 1 plus 3 is 4 over 2, which is 2. The gradient of this line would be 8 minus negative 2 is my y difference, and x would be minus 4 minus 1, so that equals 10 over negative 5, which is the same as negative 2. Hope you're able to work those ones out. Okay, let's look. And first of all, this blue formula is the point gradient formula, which you're given in the formula sheet. And we're trying to find the equation of a line. The gradient is 3 and the point is 5, 2. So if I have this point here and it has a gradient of 3, so that's quite steep there, I need to find what's the equation of that line. So I use this formula here. I know that I'm going to leave x and y as they are, because in any equation your x and y can change and our equation will have an x and a y in it. So we're going to have y equals, and I'm going to call this one x1, y1. So my y1 is 2. Oops, I always do that. Okay, I want a minus there. Y minus y1, which is 2, equals the gradient 3 bracket x minus, and x1 is 5. Now we know that a straight line usually has the form y equals mx plus c. So I want this equation to look more like what I've got at the bottom of the page there. So I need to get rid of this bracket, multiply out the bracket. Y minus 2 equals 3x minus 15. I also want to get rid of minus 2 on this side of the equation. So I just have it like the bottom, y equals. When this goes over the other side, changing the side, we change the sign. So this becomes plus 2 on the other side of the equals sign. Imagine there's kind of a river here. When you go to the other side, it becomes the opposite sign. So my formula would be y equals 3x minus 15 plus 2 is minus 13. And that looks like the formula at the bottom. My gradient would be 3. My y-intercept down here would be negative 13. And that's what they're asking for. Okay. Here we have a gradient of a half, and the point is negative 2, 7. So again, this is my x1 and my y1. I'm going to leave the formula, the x and y. So I have y minus y1, 7, equals, the gradient is a half, bracket x minus, and x1 is negative 2. Remember, these double negatives will actually make a positive. Y minus 7 equals a half. That's actually x minus minus 2 is the same as plus 2. And so first step, multiply out this bracket. Everything in the bracket gets multiplied by a half. Y minus 7 equals a half of x. A half times 2, a half of 2, 2 lots of a half, will end up being 1. And now I want to get rid of this here and put it over the other side, because remember, they want the equation of the straight line. The equation of a straight line is usually in the form y equals mx plus c. I want just a y by itself. So y equals a half x. When it's on this side, it's going to be plus 7. Change the side, change the sign. Half x plus 8 will be my formula. The equation there. Okay. See if you can do this and then restart the video. And the answer will be y minus, this is x1, y1, y minus negative 3 equals the gradient 2 times x minus negative 9. These negative negatives do seem to pop up, don't they? So this is the same as saying y plus 3 equals 2 times x plus 9. I need to get rid of the bracket. Here, y plus 3 equals 2x plus 2 multiplies everything in the bracket, 18. Now I want to put this on the other side. Plus 3 becomes minus 3 on that side. So I have y equals 2x plus 15. It's the equation of the straight line that runs through the point negative 9, negative 3, and has a gradient of 2. Okay, there's my gradient of 2, so that's right. Okay, then time. Find the equation of the line between these 2 points. When we have 2 points, we have to first of all find what's our gradient. Now you've done this previously. If this is x1, y1 and x2, y2, my gradient, remember, is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So my gradient is going to be 13 minus 7 over 9 minus 6, which equals 6 over 3, which is the same as 2. And then, so I have my gradient here, and so you just choose one of the points to be your x1, y1. Well, I've already got an x1, y1, so I'll use those. So for my using the point gradient, y minus 7 equals my m is 2, bracket x minus x1 is 6. Y equals 2x minus 12, and I'll put this plus 7 on the end. Y equals 2x minus 10, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 5. Okay. And from here, again, same thing that we're doing here. We've got negative 4, 1, negative 3, negative 5. With these points here, you're going to find your gradient. Negative 5 minus 1 over negative 3 minus negative 4. So that equals negative 6 over 1, negative 6. Then I put in this formula y, let's say this is x1, y1. Y minus 1 equals negative 6, x minus negative 4. Y minus 1 equals negative 6, x plus 4. Y equals negative 6, x minus 24, and this becomes a plus 1 on the other side. Y equals negative 6, x minus 23. Hope you got the same answer there. Rearranging equations. As I said, sometimes we want our equations in the form y equals a gradient times x plus another number. And we're sometimes given it in this form, so it's just a matter of practicing your algebra rearranging. So I have negative 4x minus 2y plus 13 equals 0. I want to put my 13 on the other side, so that would become minus 13 on the other side. This is minus 4x, that goes on the other side, it will become plus 4x. So I've got negative 2y left, that's gone over the other side, equals 4x minus 13. I've still got this negative 2, this is negative 2 times y, multiplying by y. To get rid of that, I have to divide that side by negative 2. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. The opposite of adding here was subtracting. The opposite of subtracting, or a negative, was to make a positive. So I've divided by negative 2. I must divide that side by negative 2 as well. So I can cancel those. I'm left with y equals 4 divided by negative 2 is negative 2x, and negative 13 divided by negative 2 is positive 13 over 2. So that's a rearrangement. And this, when I rearrange it this way, I'm able to see what's my gradient and what's my y-intercept. Another rearranging here. I've got 10y equals 20 minus 5x. I really just want to get rid of that 10 in the front. That's multiplying by 10, so the opposite is dividing by 10, and I have to do it on both sides to make it balanced. So that leaves me with, cancel the 10s, y equals 20 divided by 10 is 2, minus, now 5 divided by 10 is the same as a half, x would be my formula. I can find my gradient. My gradient is a negative a half, that's in front of the x. My intercept is the number that's by itself. Next one, let's do, we've got 7x plus 2y minus 6 equals 0. My y stays there. This number has to go across the other side. This is a plus 7x, has to go on the other side. So I have 2y equals, now my 7x becomes a minus 7x, minus 6 becomes plus 6. Now I have to get rid of the 2, get rid of the 2 on that side as well. I'm left with y equals negative 7 over 2x, plus 6 divided by 2 is 3. So my gradient is this number here, the fraction is my gradient, and my y-intercept is 3. We're nearly there. A couple more things. All right, we talked earlier about parallel lines. If I have two parallel lines, the slope is the same, so their gradients will be the same. M1, the gradient of this line, the gradient of that line have the same slope, the same gradient. And if I have a perpendicular line, if I draw a line at right angles, this is M3, the gradient of that line multiplied by any of the other gradients of the green lines will equal -1. So for example, if I have a gradient of 1/10, then if I multiply it by another line which has a gradient of -10, I will get -1. So these lines would be perpendicular. If I have a line that has a gradient of 2, if I have another line with a gradient of a -1/2, I will have perpendicular lines, right? Because 2 over 1 times a -1/2 is -1. If I have a line with a gradient of 5/7, what will the gradient of the perpendicular line be? It would have to be a negative, we turn it upside down, -7/5. If my gradient is -2/3 in one line, and I want a perpendicular line, I would have to have another gradient of -3/2. Oh, sorry, positive 3/2. Positive times the negative is a negative. And last example. Here we are given a point, and we are told that it's parallel, the line, we want to find the equation of the line, and it's parallel to this one here. So let's rearrange this to y equals -3x plus 2. So the parallel line has a gradient of -3, which means that this line must also have a gradient of -3 if it's parallel. So y minus, this is y1, -13 equals, my gradient's -3, x minus x1 is 3, y plus 13 equals, remember multiply this out, -3x plus 9. I'm going to put this on the other side. Y equals -3x plus 9 minus 13 is -4. That's the equation of that line passing through this point. Okay, thank you. That's it for today.